So first of all, I'd like to welcome you to our farm machinery plant at Pithampur. This is a very new plant and it's really symbolic of Mahindra & Mahindra's investment and trust in farm machinery. So let me give you the context of why we are focusing very heavily on farm machinery and growth in this business. M&M is the world's largest tractor company by number of tractors manufactured. We make upwards of 300,000 tractors a year. We have over 40% market share of the Indian tractor market. We are amongst the leaders in the utility tractor or small tractor market in North America, and we export to many parts of the world. If you look at the global farm equipment industry, and when we say farm equipment, it includes all the types of equipment that will work on a farm. Right? The global farm equipment industry is, including of tractors, is about 160 billion US dollars, right? And the tractors component of that is about 60 billion US dollars. So if I remove tractors, you have 100 billion, and inclusive of tractors, it's 160. So 60 is tractors, 100 is non-tractor. So you can see that globally the farm machinery, other than tractors, the revenues are much more than the tractor industry revenue. Mm-hmm. Whereas in India is the world's largest tractor industry by volume. India is very highly tractorized. Mm-hmm. There are upwards of 9 lakh tractors manufactured and sold in India every year by the whole industry. The turnover of the tractor industry will be close to 50,000 crores in India in rupees. Whereas the turnover of the farm machinery industry, which is everything leaving tractors, will be about 9,500 crore. So you can see that in India, farm machinery is 1/5 of the tractors, whereas globally, farm machinery is 100 billion, tractor is 60 billion. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's actually the other way around. And this is there for a number of reasons. One is our farms are quite small. So specialized farm machinery is not used as much as it is in other parts of the world where the farms are big. Labor is available abundantly. The cost of labor versus cost of capital is, in India, the cost of labor relative to the cost of capital is lower. Whereas in other countries, the cost of capital, relative cost of labor, the cost of capital is lower. And also the industry in India has up to now not been very developed, whereas globally the farm machinery industry has been a very mature industry. So there are a number of reasons why India has a very small farm machinery industry. Now, out of this 9,500 crores, our understanding is about half of that will be in the what we call the SME sector. So really small, workshops, very small companies making simple farm implements and things like that. So not only is the industry small, it is very fragmented, and a lot of it is in the SME sector. However, we are seeing things changing, and Mahindra, being the global leader in tractors, intends to be a leader in farm machinery also. And we are now seeing that the farm machinery sector in India is poised for a sort of rapid growth and also increasing sophistication in terms of the products that are demanded by farmers and that can be offered by industry. Right? So it is one of the growth opportunities for a company like M&M. So to answer the question, it's really the trajectory for growth for what we call our farm sector. In M&M we have the farm sector, which is fundamentally tractors. Small portion of that is farm machinery. But we see farm machinery growing very, very rapidly for M&M over the next few years. And there's been a very dedicated effort to grow very, very fast in this area. So it's an opportunity for growth, and it's also now the need of the hour in Indian agriculture. Okay. So that's the really reason why we want to focus, and we are focusing on farm machinery. So traditionally the farm implements and farm machinery in India was pretty simple. and a lot of it, like we discussed, was in the SME sector. But now, increasingly, as there is pressure on agriculture for increasing the farmer profits, there's climate change happening. There are various other forces in agriculture. Farmers are getting more educated.
Yes.
The next generation of farmers are not like the previous generation of farmers. They have a different outlook. Labor is slowly migrating to cities or migrating to industry or migrating to services. So while there is labor, but it's in many places it is less than what it used to be. So on account of farm profitability pressures, climate change, demographic change, attitudinal change, farmers are now increasingly wanting to use machinery. Whereas traditionally they would either use labor or a combination of labor and semi mechanized, very simple type of machine. And so that is one shift that is happening in India now. The needs now are people want the bigger companies to bring more modern equipment, to bring equipment that is designed to their, to solving their current application problems. So if you are spraying a crop, then you need to spray it in a certain way, at a certain cost, at a certain time. Or if you're doing tillage, then the productivity of your tillage in terms of acres per hour, the fuel consumption on the tractor also depends on the implement that is used with the tractor. So there are many things there which drive the productivity, profitability, timeliness of doing that operation. And that's where better and better farm machinery is required. More specialized farm machinery is required.
Okay.
So there is specialization, and then there is obviously the performance, quality, refinement, fit and finish, total cost of operation, not just the cost of the product, but total cost of operation, like any other equipment. So all of these factors now are driving farmers to start steadily moving to a shift where they want the bigger brands, they want well-known companies to come in and offer them specialized implements. So earlier, as a tractor industry, as you know, in India is mature. Tractor companies are very big and they're well-known brands. This is now happening in farm machinery also. They want well-known brands like Mahindra, Swaraj to come and offer them specialized machinery, basically do specialized jobs, because tractor is a prime mover. It needs to drive implements behind it, which does the work. And then there is self-propelled machinery like harvesters or rice transplanters, where you don't have a tractor but it is motorized, and that does a very specialized job. So the attitudes are shifting. The macro situation is making people shift also in attitude. And a combination of all these, people are looking for better equipment. They're looking for equipment from trusted names. They're looking for, very, very importantly, after-sales service. So a small manufacturer can provide a good after-sales service in his or her locality, but they cannot provide after-sales service nationally. Whereas a company like Mahindra can provide after-sales service nationally, right? A lot of the specialized farm machinery also now moves across the states because it is owned by contractors. So if you take harvesters, for instance, they will start in Maharashtra, then they go to Madhya Pradesh, then they'll go to UP, Haryana, Punjab, across one season, So there are people who will use this same machine and it will migrate. You need to provide after-sales service right across the country. Whereas a small company does not have that kind of reach. So there are various factors now that are driving the organization of this industry. The industry is getting more and more organized. We are adapting to the customer needs, and in some cases we are trying to even change the way customers are doing farming. Because when you introduce completely new types of machinery, like we've introduced something called a precision potato planter. Now there are very basic potato planters, but a precision potato planter allows you to plant exactly at the same spot and exactly at the same depth right across the field. And the productivity that you would then get because of that is much more than you get productivity with a traditional potato planter. So the precision potato planter will be much more expensive than the traditional potato planter. But when you use it as on rental, and then you see the yields that are coming out, or the farmers see the yields, that makes the machine pay for itself. So in some cases we are driving the change also. In many cases we are reacting to the change or changing needs, but in many cases we are driving adoption also. So that's a very good question. In fact, we have, just since you are now in Madhya Pradesh, we have 2 skill development centers in Madhya Pradesh for combine harvesters, where we are partnered with the state government. And in these skill development centers, we train local youth to operate the harvester, because harvester is very specialized. You need to know how to operate it, drive it essentially. And then there's a different program to maintain it, repair it. So both of these programs, and Madhya Pradesh is a big state for wheat and soybean, where harvesters are used quite widely. And therefore we actually have skill development centers like these, where we partner, and basically it generates employment, it feeds back to the industry. So the people who are trained in these centers don't just come and work for Mahindra, they can work for anyone. So it's sort of a little bit of a CSR activity, but it's also sort of ecosystem development for the industry.
True.
Right? So this is one aspect. The other aspect is, when we sell a product, we have something called an installation. So when we deliver the product to you, we would teach you to, how to use that product, and we will teach you the basics of maintenance of that product, the first line of maintenance.
Okay.
So that's what we call installation. So that is also done with the products. And then we have dealers across the country. So the dealer staff are all trained at dedicated Mahindra training centers.
Okay.
So there are different specialized product training centers where all the dealer staff are trained, both the sales staff as well as the service staff. And then we have specialists within the company. So if there's a very complex issue, then the specialists would go out and try and sort it out. So there are different levels of skill required. So the user will have one level of skill, then the dealer staff will have a different level of skill, the company staff will have a highest level of skill, and the different levels of training that are given to all 3 types. But these equipment require a lot of training and skill development, because it's not like a like a car where everybody can use it and things like that. This is very specialized. So that's something that you have to do to support the customer. The government has a subsidy program for mechanization in agriculture. It's called SMAM, SMAM. And SMAM funds are released by the central government, and then they are cascaded through the state government. So the disbursement of the SMAM funds happens through the respective state governments. And more these funds are now disbursed through what is called direct beneficiary transfer. So the funds go directly into the bank account of the farmer who's buying the machines. Right? So there is very little chance of leakage, of those funds. So government has this scheme for running for many years, and this is one of the things that is driving adoption, particularly on certain types of implements which are a little bit more expensive, and we want to drive the adoption of these type of machinery. Then the government may decide, I want to, let's say around Punjab, Haryana, Delhi, you have the problem of crop burning. Right? So then they will try and drive the adoption of certain types of machines that allow you to remove the crop residue, either by cutting it off and baling it, or either by mulching it into the ground. So there are different methods to handle that crop residue. So governments will have their priorities. The state governments and the central governments will have their priorities. And then they say, okay, if I have to achieve this type of priority in agriculture, I need this type of machine or this type of mechanization. And then they will incentivize the farmers. We don't get the incentives, the farmers get the incentives, or the buyers get the incentives to go and buy those machines. Right? So that program is there. It can be enhanced, but it has been there for some point of time, and it has driven sales of machinery in many different parts of the country. So, in the farm you have different operations. You will start with tillage. So tillage is done with a tractor, and behind the tractor you will have a tractor driven implement, which could be like a rotavator or a plow or a cultivator, right? So you have different types of implements that are driven by tractors. That's for tillage. Then you have planting, where you plant the seeds. So there are different types of implements for planting. There are mechanical planters, there are pneumatic planters, there are precision planters. Then you have spraying equipment. So that's called crop protection. So when you spray chemicals, it could be for control of pests or weeds, etc. So you have equipment for spraying. Then you have equipment for harvesting, right? Now, what Mahindra is doing through both the Mahindra and Swaraj brands is trying to provide an entire suite of equipment. Tractors, as you know, we are dominant, but we provide tillage equipment like rotavators. Then we provide planting equipment like seeders and planters. Then we have spraying equipment where you do crop protection, and then you have harvesting equipment. So as you've seen in this plant here, we make what are called self-propelled machinery. So we have other plants where we make machinery that is driven by the tractors, which are simpler. But in this plant, we make self-propelled machinery. So here you would have seen that we make rice transplanters, which is used to transplant the rice in the rice fields. And we make different types of harvesters here. So we have wheel harvesters. Wheel harvesters are normally used in areas where the land is relatively dry and firm. So basically north, central part of the country where you grow wheat and rice, or you'll grow wheat and soybean, the ground is relatively firm. So you can drive a wheeled machine on that ground. So there you have wheeled harvesters. If you look at the eastern coastal belt of India, where rice is grown 2 or 3 times, and the southern belt, where rice is again grown 2 or 3 times a year, there the soil is soft. You cannot take a wheel machine. So then we have 2 types of what we call crawler harvesters. They work on the tracks, which you can take, where the ground is not firm enough to hold a wheel machine. So we have planters and we have different types of harvesters. Right? And then we have harvesters, which are multi-crop, like the wheel machines can do wheat, soybean and rice, and if you have special attachments, they can do maize and pulses, etc. And then the rice harvesters, the crawler harvesters, are mainly used for rice. So they can harvest different types of rice. So we are building and have built already a very substantial portfolio to cover all these agricultural operations. And many of these products, of course, work with our tractors because they're designed to work very well with our tractors. And the self-propelled equipment obviously work on their own. So that's the whole strategy for filling out the product range. So sustainability is one of the sort of commitments of Mahindra, not just in farm machinery, but you would have seen, that sustainability is at the core of what we want to do. It's not just financial results, but also sustainability, diversity, and inclusion. And these are commitments that Mahindra as a group have made publicly, and we have targets as a group in terms of how we will approach these. So sustainability first, let me start with the farm. There is increasingly going to be water scarcity, right? So you need to have types of machinery which use less, where you can farm with less water. So for instance, there'll be certain types of planters where you can farm with less water. Then we have certain types of machine that allows you to take the crop residue out, like balers and reapers or mulchers. So there are certain machinery that allow you to do more sustainable agricultural operations, which means you use less water, conserve the soil, use less energy on the farm, those kind of things, which is on the farm. Then there is sustainability within the company, right? So for instance, water conservation within the company. So we are, basically want to actually be, like a negative. We don't want to be consuming more water than we kind of discharge. So, we kind of recycle the water. Then the way more and more we are going to green sources of power, right? Effluent treatment of all our plants and all our facilities we moving more and more towards zero net discharge. So within every plant, there are very clear sustainability goals in terms of usage of power, usage of water, usage of natural resources, recycling, effluent discharge, etc. And there are targets on these, and every plant and every establishment of Mahindra really drives. So there's a sustainability outside where we work, in the farm, and then there's sustainability how we work internally, right? The level of recycling that we have to do in terms of material has to be very high again, so that minimum material goes to waste and etc. So the goals are cascaded across different functions. So first, let me talk about global collaboration. So Mahindra has subsidiary companies which are in the space of farm machinery, located in Japan, in Finland, and in Turkey. And we are either we own these companies, or we have these joint ventures with partners in these countries. And a lot of the technology that we are now bringing to India is coming from these countries. So, for instance, harvester technology is coming from Finland, or certain rice machinery technology is coming from Japan, certain tractor-driven implements technology is coming from Turkey, etc. So within the group, we have different entities in different international jurisdictions, and those countries are at a higher level of advancement in terms of specialized farm machinery than India is. And therefore, there's a lot of technology that is coming from there. We also do joint R&D work. So our R&D for farm machinery is located in Chandigarh, in Mohali, and they work very closely with the R&D facilities in Finland or the R&D facilities in Japan to really develop products that are useful for India and other countries. So there's not just technology coming in terms of product technology, but there's joint R&D work also happening. And then there is collaboration in terms of commonization of certain aggregates, components, parts. So for instance, some of the gearbox and axle parts of the harvesters that we make in this plant are going to our Finland facility, where they are used there. Some of the engines that we have are going to our Finland facility and being used in harvesters in Finland, which are then sold in different parts of the world. So there's also the collaboration in terms of joint usage of components and aggregates. So there's joint product technology, then there is joint R&D, and then there is usage of components. So there are 3 levels at which we partner with different group companies. Okay. Besides this, we also have technical tie-ups with other companies. They are not Mahindra companies, they are third-party companies, where we license certain technologies. For instance, our potato planter technology is licensed from a very well-known European potato machinery manufacturer called D. Wolf, which is a Dutch company. So these are the kind of ways. So when we need a certain technology, if we don't have it within the group, then we would also go outside and look for that in terms of licensing that technology and partnering with some other countries. So as we speak, we are in the process of introducing 2 very important products. One is the next generation of the wheel harvester. So the next generation of the wheel harvester is got a whole host of new features, much more productive, and it now comes with our BS4 emission technology, which the regulation has shifted for on-road machinery to BS4, and those machines are we're just beginning the production of those. They will be in the market in this coming season. And there's a whole new generation of those. It's called the Swaraj 8200 wheel harvester, Swaraj 8200. So that's a very important product introduction for us. The second product is a crawler harvester, which is used in rice, and this is called the Mahindra Paddy Racer. It's called a pad eraser because it works much faster than the competitive machines in terms of its productivity, speed, etc. And the technology for the Mahindra pad eraser has come from a joint venture with Mahindra Mitsubishi in Japan. And then it's localized here with a lot of changes that make it suitable for the Indian market. So these two products are actually being launched as we speak in this quarter and the next Q4 and Q1 of next year. We launch about 3 or 4 products every year. There may be important, bigger products, there may be smaller products, but typically in a typical year we would launch 3 or 4 products. We launch a lot of tractor-driven implements, new types of tractor-driven implements like rotavators, threshers, every year, different types of planters, balers, etc. But as we speak, these two important products, these two harvesters are currently, in fact, you can see them now, they're being built, ready for the market. So we have taken a goal to grow our farm machinery business 10x in 5 years, right? So that's a very stretch goal that we've taken. This goal will be achieved through organic growth, through inorganic growth, through partnerships, both in India as well as globally. We have built plants like this one, develop very strong supply chains with suppliers, continue to introduce new types of products. We leverage our tractor dealer network. We have a very large tractor dealer network, upwards of 2,000 dealers. So we leverage the tractor dealer network to sell the farm machinery and penetrate that. We also have specialized dealers who only sell farm machinery. So through a combination of all of these, we are investing extremely heavily in this business. So all of these is going to lead us to drive a very high level of growth. But we intend to make farm machinery a significantly large segment within our farm sector, which currently is dominated by the tractor segment. And so we've taken these goals, and you can see in this plant actually is a testimony to that effort.